welcome to ARC Chat. We're going to discuss one arc, one book at length. What? If you're not familiar with Pretty Deadly, we've got Kelly Sue DeConnick, my fave, Emma Rios, Jordy Belair, and Clayton Cowles. Pretty Deadly issue 8 came out in February. We're halfway through the second arc. It's a great point to check in with this book. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to moderate this bitch. Alright, are we ready, fellows?
Yeah, ready.
Let's open with your personal experience. Take it away, Seth.
Well, Pretty Deadly came out about the time I started checking in with single issues. It was one of the first books that I started reading. Fell right in with it. It was great. It's a little cryptic, especially that first arc, first couple issues. I think the first issue kind of presents a fable for the whole thing, so it's really difficult to wrap your mind around. But overall, it's really great. The art is like crazy good. Yeah, it's just a really great book. I'm glad it's continuing. It's been a little bit long coming, but
Your personal experience, sir?
I had pretty much the same personal experience. We started getting single issues around the same time again since I was a kid.
You guys read together?
No. Yeah, a little bit.
ish.
Yeah.
Talking about
Sleepovers.
Saga and
Flashlights.
Hand-holding.
Anyway, this is one of the first titles I remember people at the comic store getting like excited about, and they're like, "Oh, did you pick up Pretty Deadly? Because if you didn't, you're a stupid moron."
The first arc is set in the West and plays like a typical Western. The second arc fast forwards to World War I. How does this change the story?
Western first arc plays into Western tropes a lot as far as kind of showdown, you have justice, fighting for the little guy type of thing. But when we fast forward to the second arc, it's very grim about modernity, I think. It's very like fatalistic. I think it plays into the characters developing too. In the first arc, you have a new successor to Death, and in the second arc, you get to see her reign, dealing with mass destruction. It's a little bit more grim, less triumphant, even though the first arc is very sad and lots of crazy stuff happens.
Everything in the first arc seemed a little bit black and white.
Mm-hmm.
There's good guys and bad guys. Now with this new Death in the second arc, Death has changed. Like, you've got these guys in France in the trenches getting murdered by strangers.
It's what death means.
What death means, and it's just everything is kind of topsy-turvy in this one, but it still maintains the Pretty Deadly-isms from the first arc, which is pretty cool.
The battle in the first arc is kind of gods fighting, Death and their archangels kind of fighting, and a successor to Death. In this next one, it's almost like a gods and men story, almost like a Greek story where the gods are intervening in men's affairs. So it's not so like cosmic in a way. It's very much a single human story in a crazy experience like World War I, with Death and her agents taking an interest in this one person.
I saw it a little bit differently, where in the first arc we have these people are the main characters. Whether they're, like there's something supernatural about all of them, it seems like, but they're taking on this god Death. Now in this arc, they've taken the place of what they were fighting, and now like a Greek drama, like the gods are sort of messing with these people who are like kind of auxiliary to the gods that we're learning about. It sticks with the Pretty Deadly isms in that it still runs this Bone Bunny telling Butterfly a story about how this all happened. So we're getting the second hand in like the form of a fable, which really ties it together for two very different settings, tones, all of it.
Okay, very briefly, how would you rate the two arcs at the moment?
So we're halfway through the second arc. I think art-wise, it's different but so good. Both of them are just crazy good. You kind of get the dusty Western feeling really well in the first, kind of desolate first arc. But in the second one, you just get darkness, and the gas scenes and those issues are so brutal and so vivid. I think like in that way, the second arc is almost surpassing the first one in my mind. Maybe it's just I need to reread them because the art is so good. I like the second arc better, I think. The story-wise, I'm connecting more with, I don't remember his name, but the soldier we're kind of trying to save in this issue or in this arc, but they're both great.
I think that the second arc is going to have more of an emotional impact, like personally for the characters or even the pawns of the characters. But that first arc, it's got that creepy country shit I love. I still just remember those arms coming out of the water and taking that girl. It was super weird. That first issue where they're at the town square telling the story about how Jenny, the daughter of Death, who's a main character in this, how she was conceived. It's still like one of my favorite things I've ever seen in comics. So I got to give it to the first arc, but who knows? I mean, I'm still enjoying this. And this last issue that came out in February was the best of this new arc by far.
How do you see this arc ending?
Tears and blood.
I don't know. I mean, what becomes of our main character? Do we see the death of him at the end, or does he create his own space in the God's portion of it, or what happens? Because I look back to the first issue of the series, and he's in that issue as a little kid.
Yeah.
I don't know what does the third arc lead into another era? It's hard to say, but
Hard to say.